Hello, everybody. This is Sam Frick, founder and editor at Around the Northeast Corner, covering 30 schools across Northeast Indiana and parts of Elkhart County. That includes the ACAC, the NECC, and the Northeast 8. So, I'm a little late to this, but let's go ahead and preview what's left on the area volleyball sectionals, as we will know who will be advancing to regionals after tomorrow's slate of contests. And we are going to kick things off with Class 1A Sectional 55, hosted by Daleville. And this is a sectional where, on paper, Daleville probably the favorite on paper. But this is a sectional historically dominated by the Muncie schools in the past. You take a look at the matchups here. Cowan swept Tri-Central in the first round, 3 straight, very convincingly, no less, for the Cowan Blackhawks. They had about 13 aces in that match against Tri-Central. Tri-Central only won 2 matches this year. They'll be taking on a North Miami squad that has won 15 matches this year in their first year in the Hoosier North Athletic Conference. They were a former member of the TRC. North Miami has a nice player on this North Miami squad by the name of Grace Sailors, a junior, middle and outside hitter for the North Miami Warriors. 5'11", and she's going to be the player that's going to have a big impact on whether they're able to go to the sectional finals or not. It's going to be an interesting matchup, no less, but Sailors definitely a solid player with 93 blocks, 400 kills. She really is the straw that stirs the drink on the offensive side, and then you go on the defensive side, they have a really good back row performer by the name of Zoe Sparts, and she plays outside hitter, but she's also on the defensive specials as well. 5'6" junior. So Zoe Sparts, Grace Sailors, and then you have their setter by the name of Chloe Sparts with about over 600 assists. Those 3 are going to play a big role on whether or not North Miami is able to contend for a sectional championship. On paper, they are probably the favorites in that matchup, as those 2 will face each other tomorrow at 11 a.m. In the other matchup, a little more of an intriguing matchup, Northfield versus Daleville. Northfield, a perennial program in the TRC, 22-8 on the season. They swept Westdale in convincing fashion just a few nights earlier. They have a really good offensive performer by the name of Cameron Kuhn. She had 11 kills in that matchup against Westdale. She is the senior outside hitter, 5'4" outside hitter for the Northfield Norse. And you look elsewhere on this team, they, serving-wise, were led by Ellie Baker, another senior, 6-foot senior. She had 8 aces of her own in that match against Westdale, as the Norse came up with about 15, 16 aces on the night. Kuhn also had 2 blocks. Baker with a block. Baker also had 10 dids. Kuhn with 13 dids. So both came in with double-doubles. They have another player by the name of Bella Myers, the sophomore defensive specialist who led the team with 18 dids in that matchup against Westdale. And they have a true setter rotation. Primarily, they're going to be relying on number 18 for the Norse, Warnock. I cannot find her first name for some reason, but Warnock is her last name for the Norse. And this Norse team is going to definitely make things very interesting for Daleville, who is seen as the favorites in this coming into this sectional. Daleville swept a very resilient Southern Wells team in 3 straight, but a lot closer match than I think some may have anticipated. 2 of those 3 sets was only decided by 4 points. So Southern Wells gave Daleville a good fight in that first round. Southern Wells finishing with the most wins ever in the history of Southern Wells volleyball. Daleville sweeping Southern Wells in the process. Basically, when you look at the offensive side of the ball for Daleville, they are going to be relying on their sophomore, Madeline Reese, the 5'8" sophomore outside hitter and middle hitter for the Broncos. She had 25 kills on 50 swing attempts It means basically about half of her swings went for kills. Pretty impressive. 8.3 kills per set in that matchup against Southern Wells. They have another one that they'll get some offense from number 5 for Daleville. And then last name of Johnson, Trishelle Johnson, who's a senior. She also plays on the basketball team for the Broncos. So Daleville definitely has some solid athletes as well. And there's another Reese girl on this team by the name of Cassidy Reese, the senior. She had 6 aces against Southern Wells. Johnson with 4. So they're not extremely deep by any means, but they definitely have some talent that are going to make things very difficult for Northfield on paper. And obviously to have this type of success against a talented but young Southern Wells team tells you just how dangerous Daleville can be. But I would say on paper, the winner of that Northfield-Daleville matchup likely decides the sectional. And Northfield has a history of success in the playoffs. Then again, so does Daleville. Daleville's nearby the Muncie area, so you know the talent is there for the Broncos, even in 1A. But I would say just from looking at that matchup on paper, it's really going to be interesting to see who comes out on top. But in the end, I am going to give the edge to Daleville, probably in 4 sets. And then I expect North Miami playing for the sectional. But I have, in the end, seen Daleville winning that sectional. The other sectional, Class 1A, will come in 1A-52, hosted by Hamilton Community Schools. We looked at the first round matchups. Lakewood Park defeated Lakeland Christian in a pretty close 4-set matchup. Lakeland Christian did give Lakewood Park a little bit of trouble in that first round matchup. Lakewood Park won the first set 25-19 and set 2 26-24. LCA extended the match with a 25-23 win in set 3 before Lakewood Park dominates set 4 25-11. You look at Lakewood Park, it's a team with not really a superstar by any means, but there are some good players, well-rounded players on this Lakewood Park team. You look at number 22 for the Lakewood Park Christian Panthers by the name of Jerica Bates, a senior. She had 14 kills in that matchup against LCA. She also had 3 aces in that match, as well as 5 blots. They have another middle by the name of number 10, last name of Golm. For some reason, it's not letting me find this name here, but her last name is Claire Golm. There we go. She had 4 blots in that matchup against LCA. But I think the one player to really two players really keep an eye on are the 2 setters they rely on heavily. Amelia Kosturki, the sophomore for Lakewood Park, as well as their other setter and the older of the 2 players, Evie Gravante, the junior for Lakewood Park. Gravante and Kosturki combined for 39 assists in that matchup against LCA. Gravante with 26 assists. But Kosturki has had moments this year where she's had a triple-double threats in her matchups this year. So look out for Kosturki in a matchup coming up against the Hamilton Marines, who, while Hamilton obviously is down, they're still not where the program that they need to be to compete for a state tournament or a sectional title, no less. Hamilton does have 4 wins on the season. They are scrappy. They've just completed their first season in the Hoosier Plains Conference after spending their entire history in the NECC. They did compete with Lakewood Park back on September 3rd, with Lakewood Park winning that matchup in 4 sets. So it is something to keep an eye on for a potential upset, but no less, I do expect Lakewood Park to advance. You look at the other matchup here, Canterbury, they swept Bethany Christian just a few nights earlier, which all 3 sets were decided by 4 points or fewer. 25-22, 25-21, and 25-21. Bethany Christian had a rebuilding season, only 6 wins on the season, although Cassia Nice did record her 1,000th career dig just a week prior against Goshen. So kind of a nice feat for her, but overall, Canterbury, just a little bit of a better team in general. They do have a couple decent players on this team, but the one to really keep an eye on from Canterbury, the Cavaliers, who I'm referring to, the Canterbury Cavaliers, There is a player that's led them in kills with 151 and 44 blots. And her name is Alexa Cobley. I believe that's her name. The 6'1 sophomore middle hitter. She will be one to definitely keep an eye on for the Canterbury Cavaliers, who are 9-16 on the season for the Cavaliers. If you look at the back row, they have a player. Canterbury has a player by the name of Brooklyn Dean, the 5'2 sophomore libero. She's leading the team in dids with 300 dids, but they're going to have their hands full on paper against the Fremont Eagles, who will be their opponent for the second of the two matchups. Hamilton Lakewood Park will be 11 a.m. Fremont Canterbury will take place at 12:30 p.m. Fremont in search of their first ever sectional championship. Fremont is led by Addie Parr, who has 286 dids, as well as 266 dids in her senior year at Fremont. She's their outside hitter, but also plays defensive specialist for the Fremont Eagles. They have a middle by the name of Millennia Miller, who's been right around, not too far off from Addie Parr's numbers kills-wise. I think she's right around 200 kills on the season off the top of my head without even looking, but she does have 59 aces to lead the Fremont Eagles. Fremont as a team has 250 serving aces. They also have 87 blots, 800 kills. This is a pretty prolific offense on paper when you look at the Fremont Eagles with Parr and Miller. Even Claire Folk, their setter, can get involved in the offensive side of the ball. Claire Folk just coming off a 1,000 assist milestone for the Fremont Eagles. She has 626 assists in her senior year of Fremont. She is verbally committed to, I believe, St. Francis. I think she just recently announced it on social media. So you look at this Fremont team. I obviously cover Fremont, so I know a little bit more. You have Addie Parr, who averaging 3.6 kills per set. You have 286 kills for Parr. Miller does have 200 kills, 204 kills. You also have Kaylee Neuenschwander with 97 kills. Harley Wise, 83 kills. So it's a pretty it's pretty top heavy on paper, but also at the same time, they do have some undergrads that can play a little bit of volleyball and can do some things pretty well. Defensively, that's where they're going to be. That's going to be their calling card at Fremont. Addie Parr with 266 dids. Delaney Bach, 261 dids. Claire Folk, 237 dids. Miller with 205 dids. But obviously, when we talk about Fremont, we talk about, especially with Claire Folk, again, Claire Folk coming off a performance where she is coming off her 2,000th career assists at Fremont High School. That's what it was, her 2,000 career assists at Fremont. And that's where, so I hope I got that corrected there. Addie Parr around 600 kills, nearly 800 dids. So obviously it's a pretty talented Fremont team, but on paper, Fremont is seen as the favorites to win their sectional, which is something this program has went through a lot of struggles over the years. And if there's any year they're going to win the sectional, this is their year to do so. Let's shift over to Class 2A, and we're going to begin with 2A-38, hosted by Southwood. Southwood is the defending state champions, but they did that in Class 1A, I believe. Pretty sure they did it in 1A last year and then moved up. Yeah, they were the 1A state champions from last season when they went 32-4. Obviously, this year is a different year for them because now they're in Class 2A. I believe they still come into tomorrow's semifinal matchups with an undefeated record on the season. They have been the top dog in Class 2A all season long. I'm pretty sure they won the TRC. Yep, they are 30-0 on the season. They are the 5th ranked team in 2A. That is a little bit surprising considering Southwood is that talented of a team, but they are going to be taking on their Wabash rivals in the Wabash Apaches at 11 a.m. Wabash defeated Rochester in 4 sets. They're rivals out of the Three Rivers Conference, so these two teams obviously have known each other quite well going into the state tournament, and it's a pretty TRC-heavy sectional, which is 2A sectional 38. Wabash defeated Rochester in 4 sets, to which Wabash defeated Rochester 25-21 set 1. Rochester won set 2, 25-19, before Wabash won the final 2 sets, 25-22 and 25-16. You look at the Wabash Apaches, they have 2 players that are going to contribute on the offensive side of the ball. Riley Bodds, the junior. She also plays basketball at Wabash, the 5'8" junior. Had 13 kills against Rochester, 3 aces, 2 blocks, 13 dids in that matchup. You also look at another player on the offensive side of the ball. Number 2 for Wabash is Jillian Sailors, the senior 5'6" outside hitter. She had 11 kills in that matchup, as well as a couple dids, about 5 dids in that matchup there. Overall, you look at Wabash, other players that stand out. You look at, in addition to Bodds' 2 kills, number 9 for Wabash, Eli Hall, the junior, 5'10" middle. She had a couple of blocks of her own. The team that actually led the player that actually led him in blocks was in that matchup was actually junior Carly Behrman with 4 blocks against Rochester. Wabash obviously going to be a very scrappy team on the defensive side. They have some talented back row performers at Wabash, one of which is number 6, Janica Stumble. There was another Stumble at Wabash just about a year or 2 ago. She's now playing college volleyball, so this shouldn't be a surprise for those that follow the Wabash Apaches that she leads the way in did. She had 27 against Rochester. Bonds had 17. They have another one in number 14, Maya Whitaker, the junior. She had 10 dids in that matchup, and she also leads the team in assists with 21. But they also rely on 2 setters. Zoe Vale, the freshman at Wabash, she had 13 against the Rochester Zebras. So Wabash is a very talented team. Also 22 wins, just like Northfield. This is going to be a very difficult matchup against Southwood, the defending state champions. And obviously, when you look at Southwood, they are balanced. They are deadly. They are a very challenging opponent. Southwood has not been tested all season long. But when you look at the Southwood Knights, they are big. They are athletic. They are experienced. They are a lethal ball club. They are going to be a force to be reckoned with in this state tournament. No less. You look at Shania Ramey. She's averaging 3.9 kills per set as a sophomore. She's only a sophomore. Grace Drake, the senior, 2.8 kills per set. That's their senior setter. Hallie Pershing averaging 2.4 kills per set for the Southwood Knights. Altogether, you look at Ramey with 287 kills. You got Drake with 209 kills. Serving-wise, they have had 313 aces all season long, led by 64 service aces from their sophomore, Presley Croft, the 5'6" sophomore for the Southwood Knights. They are big, as I mentioned earlier, with 121 blocks. Drake with 36 blocks. They have another one in Alexis Lopez, the junior, who leads the team with 48 blocks on the season. And obviously, defense is going to win championships at Southwood, and 826 dids, which is average 11.2 per match. Keep in mind, they have not played very many matches that went beyond 3 sets this year. So you do know that Southwood has been a very dominant team all season long. And again, Shania Ramey, we're going to be talking a lot about Shania Ramey when we talk about Southwood. 204 dids on the season for her. And then you have 2 really dominant setters. We mentioned Drake earlier with 329 assists, but their leader in assists actually comes from sophomore Addie Deaton with 394 assists. So obviously this is a premier matchup in that section. The winner of that matchup certainly going to be the favorites to win this sectional because of just how good Southwood is. Southwood did sweep Wabash just a couple weeks ago, back on September 26th. You look at the match between Manchester and Oak Hill. Manchester had to battle through 5 sets just to get past Eastern Greentown in a 5-set thriller. Manchester defeated Eastern in set 1, 28-26. Eastern bounced back to win the next 2, 25-17, 25-19, before Manchester rallied to win set 4, 25-17, and 15-13. You look at the Manchester Squires, they had a really strong performance from number 13 for the Squires, Ava Felder, the junior middle hitter for the Squires. She had 23 kills on that match. They have another really solid player by number 4, Elizabeth Renz, another junior at Manchester. She had 17 kills. In terms of serving, number 10 for the Manchester Squires, Marley Bellinger, had 4 aces to lead the serving department. Blots-wise, Renz and Felder both had 2 blots. A really strong performance on the defensive side of the ball, led by Bellinger with 21 dids. They have another really good player in the back row by number 3, Myla Crozier, the junior defensive specialist. She had 15 dids in that matchup. And then you have Peyton Ream, number 11. She had 13 dids for the Manchester Squires. Yeah, Peyton Ream, she is another player with a lot of experience on this team. She also is on the basketball team, no less. She'll be a player to keep an eye on the basketball courts this coming winter. And then you look at number 8 for the Squires, Hadley West, had 12 dids. But definitely Peyton Ream's a player to keep an eye on. She's also their starting setter at Manchester with 50 assists. So she is certainly one of the top tier setters in the northeastern part of the state. And Manchester obviously are going to be tested in their matchup against the Oak Hill Golden Eagles out of the Central Indiana Conference. And Oak Hill took care of business rather easily in the first round against Lewis Cass. They swept Lewis Cass earlier in the state tournament, and trying to look at what the record is going into today, but I'm pretty sure Oak Hill has a pretty strong record. Yeah, they took care of business pretty easily against Lewis Cass, 25-7, 25-12, and 25-11. Lewis Cass not looking so hot this year for the Cass Kings. But you look at the matchup between Manchester and Oak Hill, which will take place at 1 o'clock after the matchup between Southwood and Wabash. Certainly an intriguing matchup, no less, between a pretty athletic Manchester team and an always competitive Oak Hill squad that has a 23-8 record. Manchester 25-6. Manchester, I believe, finished second in the Three Rivers Conference, so you know they're a pretty solid group at North Manchester. But Oak Hill did defeat Manchester earlier this year, back on August 22nd in a 4-setter, 3-1 in favor of Oak Hill. And they're going to have 3 players that are going to rely heavily on the offensive side of the ball. You look at Morgan Cates, the sophomore 5'10" middle hitter for Oak Hill. She had 18 dids in that matchup against Manchester. They have another strong middle on that team by the name of Brianna Daly, a freshman 6'1" middle. She had 14 kills and 5 blots against the Squires. And then you have number 4, the outside hitter Bella Taylor, a senior. She had 10 kills against the Squires. And this this Oak Hill team is going to be a disruptor up front. And it's going to be mainly because of Brianna Daly being as athletic as she is up front. They also have a really strong defensive back, and number 5 in particular is going to be one to keep an eye on for the Golden Eagles of Oak Hill. And let me get her name here real quick. Sorry about having some technical difficulties here. Getting things loaded here. It's Braylee Evans, the senior libero for Oak Hill. She had 31 dids against the Manchester Squires. And then they rely on true setters, but number 2, Addison Carey, the junior, is their primary setter. She had 29 assists against Manchester back in August, but certainly going to be a difficult matchup, no less, and one that could go, honestly, it can go in either direction here, as the sectional is hosted by Southwood. So prediction-wise, I like Southwood to get past Wabash. I could see the other matchup go either way. it's going to be tough because Manchester right now is a different team than where they were in August. I could easily see a all Wabash sectional final. And honestly, I'll even give Manchester the edge to get past Oak Hill. But in the end, I do like Southwood to win that sectional. We take a look at sectional 36, hosted by Woodland. And Blackhawk Christian, it's been a down year for the Braves by their standards. They are normally at a top-tier contender in the state tournament at this time of year, but this year it has been a season of learning for the Lady Braves of Blackhawk Christian. And again, only 10-22. They were able to get past Bishop Lures earlier this week in a 5-set thriller. Blackhawk won the first 2 sets 25-20 and 25-23. Lures took the next 2 25-22 and 25-21 before Blackhawk took the 5th set 17-15. You look at the Braves, they're going to be relying very heavily on 2 players on the offensive side of the ball. Number 5, Ava Cross, the senior right side hitter. She had 19 kills in that matchup against Bishop Lures, as well as 2 aces. She had 11 blocks and 15 dids. So we're talking about a triple-double for Lacrosse. And then you have a number 3 for the Fort Wayne Blackhawk Braves, Ellie Kress, the sophomore middle hitter. She had 15 kills and as well as 12 blocks, only 2 dids, but still, you could tell this is very much a 2-horse performance when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. Very much a down year by Blackhawk standard because of that, but still the size and athleticism of Blackhawk is still there. You look at other players to watch. The one you look at on the defensive side, number 4, Lily Stanley leads Blackhawk as a junior libero. She had 20 dids against Bishop Lures. But Blackhawk will certainly be tested against the Woodland Warriors, which that match will take place at 11 o'clock. Woodland is the host of this sectional. And this Woodland team, 19 wins on the season, a very strong Woodland team despite graduation. Taking a hit on this Woodland team, Alyssa Anderson is the leading player on that offensive side of the ball with 327 kills. The junior middle hitter also leads with 52 blocks. She's been one of their best top players all season long. You got McKenna Smith, who leads the team in aces as a senior. She has 48 aces, also 399 dids, so she's very capable of putting some strong performances on the back row. They also have a solid setter of their own in Victoria Crozier. The junior has 437 assists. They have swept Blackhawk both times in the regular season. First one coming on September 3rd. It was a 3-set sweep. The second one coming in a tournament to which Woodland won in 2 sets. So Woodland has been dominant against the Braves this year. They are seen as the favorites to not only win this matchup, but to possibly even contend for the sectional championship. And it's going to be interesting to see how Woodland matches up with South Adams because of what Woodland can do up front and what they can do on the defense side of the ball as well. The second matchup will feature Whitco and South Adams at 12:30 p.m. Whitco survived a scare in the 5th set, which Whitco held on to defeat the Bluffton Tigers in a 5-set thriller. Whitco, 13-6 on the season. They lost the first set 25-18. They won the second set 25-12, as well as set 3 26-24. Bluffton forced a 5th set with a 25-23 win before Whitco dominate the 5th set 15-8. They're going to be taking on a South Adams team that looked very strong against Adams Central, not only in the regular season matchup against the Jets, but also in the state tournament, to which South Adams swept Adams Central surprisingly in a dominant fashion here. 3-set thriller here. 25-16, 25-21, and 25-18. And I'm having some trouble getting stats here at the moment, so please bear with me here on that. I apologize, having some technical difficulties getting South Adams' stats here. Let's see if we can get things rolling here. Okay, so in that match with Adams Central in the sectional, Reagan Bullenbacher had 13 kills in that matchup. She had an ace. She also had 15 dids. She's been one of the top players in the ACAC all season long for the South Adams Starfires. You have Reagan Beitler, just a freshman. Sorry, this is Reese Beitler. I always get the Beitler sisters mixed up here. Reese Beitler is the one I'm referring to. She had 8 kills against the Jets. She also had a block and 17 dids. The future is very bright for the freshman for South Adams. The other Beitler is Reagan Beitler. That's number 10. The junior had 10 kills, 2 aces, 3 dids, and 11 assists. But Lainey Troush, the other setter, had 20 assists in that matchup against Adams Central. She had 10 dids for South Adams. So South Adams is a very well-rounded group. They obviously have the offensive firepower. Even a player by the name of Avery Brown, she can come up with some big performances, just like she showed in the regular season matchup against Adams Central. Yeah, and Adams Central won 22 matches this year, and they also won the ACAC tournament. So this Adams Central team is no slouch by any means, and South Adams still had a dominant performance in the regular season and the sectional against the Jets. It will be interesting to see how how Whitco is able to contain some of the things that South Adams does best. Whitco does have a really strong two-way player by the name of Emerson Harper, the senior. She has 183 kills. She's also been a player that's been able to get some performances and dids. I think she had a double-double a couple times recently in the regular season. Julian Culp leads the team with blocks with 81, the middle hitter for the Whitco Wildcats. But Whitco is certainly going to be battle-tested against the athleticism and the experience of the ACAC champions, the South Adams Starfires, and obviously South Adams will be the favorites to win this matchup and probably even the heavy favorites to even win the sectional altogether, to which they lost that sectional last year to Adams Central. So it would be nice to see South Adams get that sectional back after losing it to their rivals the previous season. So my prediction is I expect a Woodland South Adams sectional final. It was a competitive regular season matchup despite South Adams sweeping Woodland, but I would say South Adams probably the favorites to come out of this sectional. And then lastly, for this portion of the preview, we have 2A Sectional 35 hosted by Prairie Heights. And the first matchup will feature Westview versus Churubusco at 11 o'clock. Busco defeated their rivals Central Noble just a few nights earlier in 4 sets. And obviously, when you have a rivalry between Busco and Central Noble, it's always going to be competitive. And it was. Busco defeated CN the first 2 sets, 25-22 each. Central Noble won this third set, 25-17, before Busco dominated the fourth set to win the match 3-1 with a 25-11 fourth set winner. When you look at Churubusco, obviously they are not the same team as the one that won the previous 2 sectional championships, to which they had Ella Boersma on that team, who's now at Indiana University. We're talking about IU Bloomington. So we're talking about the Big Ten. Obviously, they graduate some good players on those 2 teams, and even a setter by the name of Rissa George, who's also playing college volleyball. And I'm blanking where she's at now, but nevertheless, Rissa George is definitely playing college volleyball. Kelsey Coyle has done a nice job filling some of those holes on the offense side of the ball with 314 kills. She also has some performances on the defense side of the ball. You also have Gabby Orif, who's kind of been their true middle for Busco as well. She's had some strong performances this year. Michaela Reuter has become a really strong player as their starting setter with 806 assists, 56 aces, 41 blocks. She's done just about everything but the kitchen sink for Churubusco. Grace Lawson, still their starting defensive specialist, 286 dids for Churubusco. They still have Bridget Timbrook on this team. They also have Grace Schatz, who can provide some offense as well for the Busco Eagles. So you have some experience back, and it's obviously a senior-heavy team still. So Busco definitely has the experience from the previous year. They're going to have a very interesting matchup against the Westview Warriors, who come in 16-12. Busco is 21-12. While Busco defeated Westview both times, one was the regular season, which Busco won 5 sets. And then Busco swept Westview in the NECC tournament in 2 sets. Westview is certainly capable of giving Busco some trouble in this matchup, and they have a really nice player by the name of Coley Yoder, just a sophomore with 226 kills to lead the Westview Warriors. She also has 336 dids for Busco. No, Kylie Yoder has 336 dids. I apologize. In which Kylie Yoder is going to be playing college volleyball, I believe, at Goshen. But Chloe Yoder does lead Westview in aces with 36. Again, she leads with kills with 226 kills. She's not too far from Kylie, however, in dids. So Chloe Yoder is a talented player, no less. Kylie Yoder is the senior at Westview. Christner is their setter. She has 379 assists at Westview. And then their leader in blocks is Maddie Grossman with 34. So that what this Westview team is going to give their best effort. And obviously, you look at the matchup from the regular season. Obviously, Kelsey Coyle had a hot hand in that matchup against Westview in the regular season with 17 kills in that matchup. Don't forget, there's another player at Busco who recently came into Busco. I think she was a transfer from the Fort Wayne area. Mallory Taylor. She had 11 kills against Westview in the regular season. So it's not just Kelsey Coyle. It's not just Michaela Reuter. It's not just Grace Lawson. It's not just Gabby Orff doing their thing. There are other players that are capable of being able to perform when they need to. And so I think the thing for Westview is going to be, can they slow down Reuter? Can they contain Coyle and Orff? And Orff certainly is going to have a challenge. Is going to be a challenge for Westview up in the middle. Grace Lawson had 29 dids in that regular season matchup against Westview. That will certainly be a player to keep an eye on as well. Taylor also has 17 dids. So Mallory Taylor could be another one that could be an X factor for the Churubusco Eagles. Reuter with 47 assists in that matchup, and I don't believe that's her season high. I think she set that season high against Central Noble in the regular season where she had over 50 assists. So you know the talent is there for Churubusco. They will be one of the favorites to win this sectional, but this is not going to be an easy cake this year, even with Fremont dropping the 1A. Busco's certainly not going to get an easy matchup, no less. The other matchup, which will be at 1 o'clock, will be Lakeland versus Prairie Heights. Prairie Heights swept Eastside in the first round after losing to Eastside in the regular season. Prairie Heights did get the revenge against the Blazers in the postseason in a 3-setter. Prairie Heights swept Eastside 25-16, 25-18, and 25-18, respectively. Again, it's been a down season for Prairie Heights. Only 9 wins on the season for the Prairie Heights Panthers, but they do have some seniors on this team. Ella Coney leads the way with about 154 kills. You have Armstrong, Marley Armstrong, who leads the way with about 36 blots. You have the Emma Allendro, who leads the way in service aces with 38. They have a solid back row still with Chloe Kintz leading the way, the junior, with 250 dids. Although they really miss their starting libero from their starting defensive specialist from last year, which was Aaliyah Smith, I believe, for Prairie Heights. She was their leader in dids last year, but graduated. I think she's now a student at Trine University. And then looking at in terms of the assist category, Bailey Delancey is their junior setter at Prairie Heights with 362 assists. They're going to have their hands full against Lakeland, their county rivals from the LaGrange area. Although, keep this in mind that Prairie Heights actually led the regular season matchup 2-0 before Lakeland came back to win that matchup in a reverse sweep. So Prairie Heights, if anything could happen, it certainly can be a Prairie Heights upsetting Lakeland. It's certainly not out of the possibility. And Lakeland has had some interesting matchups this year where they've had to play catch-up in some of those matchups. And ironically, it came against their LaGrange rivals, both Westview and Prairie Heights. So Lakeland is certainly not immune to a potential upset, no less. But when you look at the Lakeland Lakers on paper, obviously they're the more experienced team than Prairie Heights on paper. Lakeland I believe they finished second place in the NECC race, just behind Angol. I think they were the only team in the NECC to even defeat Angol in a set. So you know Lakeland certainly has the talent. You look at Zoe Bowman, who I believe is only just a sophomore. She has 214 kills on the season. You got the senior Kara Shaka with 97 blots. Adeline Denny, another senior with 51 aces, 503 dids. She just had 1,000 dids earlier this season. You got another wrestler at Lakeland, Anna Wrestler, the junior. She leads the way with 376 assists. But the one player to really keep an eye on for Lakeland, the one that continues to get some recognition every once in a while, is another sophomore by the name of Abriana Satterfield. And she does just about everything but the kitchen sink for the Lakeland Lakers. She's one of their top leaders in kills, one of the top leaders in serving, one of the top leaders in dids, number 2 in aces, number 2 in assists. So if there's a player that can get hot and can make things interesting for the Lakeland Lakers, Abriana Satterfield cannot be overlooked by any means. And if she could have a really strong Saturday, Lakeland can finally win their first sectional in over 20 years. Lakeland certainly can do that. They have the talent to do this, but they're going to have to put it together and put a strong a strong day of volleyball, and it's going to be tough to do so when you're playing Prairie Heights on their home on their home court. Prairie Heights is always a tough team in the postseason, and then on top of that, you're going to have a very tough championship matchup either against Churubusco or Westview. And even with Churubusco, despite defeating they didn't beat Busco. They lost to Churubusco. Yeah, they lost to Busco in 5 sets. So, but Lakeland certainly can win this sectional. There's definitely no such thing as that. There's no such thing as a true favorite in this sectional, because you look at Lakeland, they have proven they can beat teams. Busco has proven they can beat teams. Westview has proven they can beat teams as well. So I think you look at this section of all the sections we have talked about so far. This is a sectional that's probably the most wide open of the bunch. It could be Busco's sectional, it could be Lakeland sectional, it could even be Westview sectional, which Westview has not won a volleyball sectional since Grace Hales and Maria McCoy were there, which was 2015. I apologize. They graduated in 2016, but it was the 2015 season. And that's the last time the Westview Warriors won a sectional championship in volleyball. But if anything, you make your pick on who wins this sectional, and you might have you may have a point. I have no idea who even wins this sectional, no less, but I would say Lakeland probably beats Prairie Heights to get to the championship round. Busco and Westview, that's a coin toss. Flip the coin, you see what happens. I'm going to say Busco just because they have the experience, and I think they may have just an edge in terms of that offensive firepower. Maybe just a little bit of an edge on the offensive side and with their size. But I do have some question marks as well for Churubusco, because they're not the same Churubusco Eagles from the past as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how that matchup plays out. But it's going to be tough. You know what? I'm going to give the edge to Lakeland overall. I think if Lakeland can put a strong performance on Saturday, if Satterfield can get going, if Zoe Bowman can have a strong performance on the outside, if Lakeland can have a good defensive performance and put together a complete match of Lakeland volleyball for 2 rounds, I think Lakeland can honestly win this sectional. So I'm going to say Lakeland gets it done. But we'll see what happens. I think this is the sectional that I think could be the most interesting to keep an eye on. So that is the first part of our volleyball sectional previews. When we come back, we'll discuss 3A and 4A.